What's the pettiest I want to talk to your manager moment you've ever experienced? Not my parent but grandparent. When I was around 10 years old, my grandmother went out and got us McDonald's. We got home and we didn't have napkins in the bags. No big deal, right? We have paper towels and napkins in the house. Also, me and my brother are pretty good with not making any messes while we eat. Nope. Grandmother got us in the car, drove back to McDonald's, demanded a manager, and screeched about how upset she was that we didn't get any napkins. I wanted to just melt into the floor and disappear. It's just napkins, nanny. Ugh, my dad can be such a if you get his order wrong. It could be fast food or a nice sit-down restaurant. He often yells at waitstaff if they undercook his steak. It has to be well done or he claims to have lost his appetite. One time we went to Burger King when I was younger and we sat down to eat. He took one bite of his burger, spit it out, and immediately started beeping about it being undercooked. He cut in front of everyone in line to yell at the cashier. Then he asked who was the cook. When the cook appeared, he launched his burger, hitting the poor kid directly in the face with a lidless burger. He's now banned for life from Burger King. I was with my parents on vacation and the hotel put charges on the bill by accident. My mom marched to the front desk and demanded to see the manager. There was a long line but she cut right in front of it. The manager wasn't very helpful, probably because she was rude. So my mom went to all the other customers in line and told them that the hotel was a scam and they were ripping us off with fake charges. She made a scene. The hotel called the police and we were escorted off the premises by actual cops. I dabbed inside. Don't forget to smash that like button. Each like brings you one step closer to finding your waifu. Hang in there, little chap, she's around the corner. When I was a young child on a long distance flight, my mother let me and my brother sleep on the floor. For safety reasons, the flight attendants told my mother that we were not allowed to sleep on the floor. She started to argue with the flight attendants, who then turned to the pilots. The pilots threatened to turn the plane around unless we get up from the floor, but she continued to argue. The pilots announced they were about to turn around because of my mother, so all the passengers got. Eventually she caved in when she had all passengers and flight crew on 747 against her. I was a flight attendant and the amount of people who would put sleeping babies on their tray tables still baffles me. You know that thing's not stable, right? If we hit moderate turbulence, do you want to peel little precious off the seat in front of you? Or the overhead bin? I found that the best way to get this point across was think diving board. Boing. My mum demanded to see a cafe's hygiene certificate when she saw an employee go from cutting cake in the kitchen to handling money at the till, even though the real problem is going the other way. How do you know that that cake wasn't actually hollow and filled with Coca-Cola and TB? I work at a grocery store where we package the meat for the customers in front of them. I asked the customer during wrapping the first item if there was anything else in that case they'd like. The customer said yes, and I continued to serve and not bother changing gloves. The customer made me stop and change gloves for every single item. I was fairly irritated and I think it showed. I didn't say have a nice day when they walked away. Edit. For what it's worth, people, I try my hardest to be sanitary, but I have my limits. My advice is to assume all the food you eat was handled by DJ Khaled after picking at his belly button. Clean and cook your food accordingly. Before Value Village changed policies, mom would cut tags to get discounts since the cashiers would basically make up whatever price they thought it would be on the spot. If they highballed it, she would get a manager involved. I hated that. I worked at Best Buy. I stopped in with my mom one day because she wanted to buy me the Star Wars DVD box set for my birthday. I had a huge crush on the girl that was working the customer service counter. Well, the DVD set rang up $10 more than it was priced, and my mom deliberately didn't say anything until after the transaction so she could claim the effing $5 Michigan can law bounty. My crush didn't know how to process it and the manager was busy, so my mom tore into her about how it was her job and how she should understand how to do things at my job. To the girl I liked. My life was misery for a while afterward. Edit. RIP my inbox. No, I never got the courage up to ask her out and she left the store afterwards. My aunt is super specific about making sure Burger King burns her burger because at one point McDonald's gave her basically a raw burger, and when she asked for a new one, they put it back on the soiled bun from the first burger. She won't ever eat at McDonald's and is incredibly insistent that BK actually chars her burger. My mom asked me to call her a taxi via an app. She ended up calling me multiple times complaining about how the driver didn't use the route she thought was best. She never owned a car and doesn't know how to drive, even though the guy just used the best possible route the navigator suggested. She ended up getting out halfway and choosing Subway. The driver proceeded to call me in tears, completely shocked, unsure of what he did so wrong and apologizing. I felt like total shit. I'm beginning to wonder if your grandmother, or OP's mom, isn't this regular customer we had at a restaurant I used to work at. So if customers ordered a bottled drink, typically it was the cashier's job to grab it from our drink cooler since it was behind the counter. This one woman would pitch a fit if the cashier didn't wash their hands and put on gloves before grabbing her drink. Never mind that this woman's hands were equally unclean since she typically paid in cash. Or that we never picked up a drink by the top cap. Nope. She had to have a different bottle picked up only after the person doing so washed their hands and put on gloves. And it was regrettably faster to just do that. And then one day she tried to pull that stunt on the owner, and he told her if she ever acted like that again, she would be refunded, pay before you eat, and told to leave. She never came back after that, and I can't say she was missed. Not me, but my sister-in-law. Her stepdad and mom took the family out to eat at a Red Lobster. They get there and it is super busy. So the stepdad walks up to the host and says, "Yes, we have a reservation." The problem is, Red Lobster doesn't take reservations. The host explains this and says it is going to be 20 minutes wait for seating. Her stepdad flipped out and started screaming that he had called 3 hours beforehand and made a reservation. The host politely told him this was not possible as they do not take reservations. Again, he continues to scream at the guy and says he wants to talk to a manager. So the manager comes out and she tells him the same thing. They don't take reservations, so it's not possible that he had made one. He continues to cause a scene and people started leaving just to get away from this toxic guy. Finally, the manager says, "Fine, we will put you ahead of everyone else that has been patiently waiting their turn." He says thank you. They get seated. Once they get to the table and the waitress walks away, he slyly winks and says to my brother and the rest of the family, "That is how you get things done." I wasn't going to wait 20 minutes. My brother refused to eat or order for fear of getting food that had been spit on. My granddad got a sausage roll at a football match during halftime. When he got back to his seat, he found it was overdone. The pastry was quite burned. The man was... He didn't take it back straight away as the second half was about to start, but he spent much of the second half angrily lamenting his savory snack let down. So he takes it home, calls the customer service number on the back. I assume he had a few choice words for the poor soul on the other end, but I wasn't present for this, and keeps the remainder of the sausage roll in the freezer for the next couple of weeks. Skip ahead to the next match day. My granddad tells me we're heading out early so he can have his sausage roll replaced. The customer service line told him to go to kiosk 3 at the front of the ground next to the ticket office. When we arrive, however, the shutters are down at the food place. The old man looks around, growling and turning red in the face, stamps right over to window number 3 of the ticket office and slams his frozen burned sausage roll down like a freaking flaky gauntlet. At this point I'm trying to convince him the ticket office was a completely different department to the catering concession, but my granddad was having none of it. The lady working the ticket window continually attempted in vain to convince him the same. They sell match tickets, not hot snacks, but this just got him angrier and angrier. Across comes a colleague behind the glass. Now there's just 2 people to rage at. Then a head steward comes to attempt to defuse the situation and my granddad begins to wave the burnt sausage roll in this man's face. I was actually surprised he didn't whack him with it. At this point I'm mortified by the whole affair, wishing I'd have stayed back at the house until near a kickoff. Eventually, after an hour or so, the shutters come up on the food concession. Fella at the counter goes, "You must be Mr. Alaginge," and calmly resolves the situation. dispatching a freshly baked sausage roll with the steady hands of a surgeon. My granddad is completely satisfied with the result of his hour of insolent rage. As we're walking away, he turns to me and says, "That's how you get these things sorted." Thank you so much for watching.